The metal doors groaned open, revealing Earth's most elite military academy. Alien Commander Varath of the Xaar Dominion held his ground, though an instinct deep within urged him to turn back. Earth's air had a heaviness to it, a distinct tang of salt and metal that clung to his skin. Humans milled around him with an ease and grace that unsettled him, a strange fluidity in their movement that could pivot to violence in an instant. Commander Varath was here on an intergalactic council mandate to study human tactics, but as he took his first steps into the heart of human military training, he felt a crawling dread. Here, within the hallowed halls of West Point Academy, he would soon find that the tales of human resilience and savagery were more than exaggerated myth. As Commander Varath entered West Point's main atrium, he was greeted by General Cole Maddox, a towering figure whose hard gaze and sly grin exuded both welcome and a hint of warning. Maddox held out his hand, a human gesture of goodwill. Varath hesitated, feeling the strength in Maddox's grip as they shook hands. "Welcome, Commander," Maddox said, his voice thick with a barely concealed undertone of amusement. "This is Earth's premier training ground. We're proud to host one of the galaxy's finest here to witness our warriors in training." Varath straightened, gathering his composure. "Thank you, General Maddox. I look forward to gaining a deeper understanding of Earth's methodologies." Maddox's grin widened. "Let's hope you can handle it." They began the tour through long corridors lined with displays of medals, ancient weapons, and framed photos of men and women from every era and culture of human history. The general explained each one with a casual tone, but Varath noticed the reverence in his voice. Every hallway seemed like a tribute, not just to victory, but to survival, to scars earned and bonds forged through pain and triumph. One portrait caught Varath's attention, a soldier with a weathered face, his eyes steely and resolute. Beneath the portrait, a plaque read, "Captain Marcus Hayden, survivor of the Genosian siege." Varath recalled the Genosian conflict well. It had been a brutal siege between the Xaar and the Genosian alliance. Seeing a human face among the honored survivors unsettled him. "Humans fought in the Genosian War?" Varath asked, his voice laced with disbelief. Maddox chuckled. "Not just fought, Commander. We survived. Genosians outnumbered us 3-1, but humans don't quit. Our Captain Hayden there held his position for 3 days straight. Our motto here is simple. If you're still breathing, the fight isn't over." Varath's pulse quickened, but he masked it with a curt nod. Already, the narrative of human tenacity was beginning to weave into his mind, deeper than before. As they arrived at the towering, reinforced doors labeled Gauntlet Chamber, Maddox's expression took on a darker edge. "This is where our cadets truly learn what they're made of." He called over a cadet, a young woman with a hardened expression, her uniform crisp and her stance proud. "Cadet Harlow will demonstrate what it means to be a part of West Point," Maddox announced. The heavy doors creaked open, and Harlow entered with no hesitation, diving into a brutal course designed to test physical endurance, mental acuity, and combat readiness. Varath watched, his gaze sharpened as she dodged spinning blades, vaulted over boiling trenches, and dismantled simulated foes with precision. But what truly caught his attention was her face, focused, not a flicker of doubt in her eyes. The final obstacle loomed, a towering beast simulation, one designed to mimic an apex predator from one of Earth's deadliest jungles. The creature's roar filled the chamber, and Harlow's hand tightened around her training blade. In a single fluid motion, she evaded the creature's swipe and drove her blade into its weak point, deactivating it with a flash of blue light. "She didn't hesitate," Varath murmured, more to himself than anyone else. Maddox heard him and smiled, leaning in slightly. "Hesitation can kill, Commander. Our cadets learn to see fear as an afterthought. They face what others run from." After the gauntlet, Maddox led Varath into an underground chamber where walls were adorned with relics of humanity's violent past. Knives, guns, armor, and torn flags from nations that had long since vanished. A holographic display depicted various historical battles, from ancient Earth skirmishes to more recent galactic conflicts. Maddox guided Varath through each section, recounting the brutal conflicts that had scarred Earth. One hologram displayed the Battle of Verdun, another the siege of a city called Stalingrad. The brutality of these scenes unsettled Varath, who was more accustomed to calculated, swift, and strategic warfare. Humans have a knack for endurance, Maddox remarked as they paused at a particularly grim display. Our wars weren't always about domination. Sometimes they were about sheer survival. There are legends here of soldiers trapped for months, supplies running low, holding their ground. Varath shifted uncomfortably, trying to picture his own soldiers trapped in such a situation, unsure if they'd have the resilience to survive the way these humans had. His mind struggled to process the shift in his perception. Humans weren't just survivors. They were something more profound, more dangerous. As the tour progressed, Maddox took Varath into a psychological training room, an area reserved for resilience conditioning. Holographic screens lined the walls, showing cadets undergoing rigorous simulations that tested not only their physical skills, but also their mental fortitude. The current training scenario displayed one cadet standing in a virtual forest as enemy figures surrounded him. Explosions shook the ground, and the cries of fallen comrades echoed around him. The cadet's face was tight with tension, but he remained unflinching, pushing onward through each trauma-induced scenario without breaking down. "They call this resilience training?" Varath asked, his tone laced with discomfort. Among the Za'ar, soldiers were carefully shielded from prolonged trauma. Breaking a warrior's mind could destroy them in battle. Maddox nodded grimly. "Mental resilience is our foundation, Commander. Combat isn't just physical, it's psychological. We prepare our soldiers to face their worst fears and conquer them long before they set foot on a battlefield." As Varath watched, the cadet's scenario ended, and he dropped to one knee, panting but otherwise composed. Varath's skin prickled with a cold realization. The humans weren't just honing their physical skills, they were forging their minds into unbreakable weapons. "Are you up for a little hands-on experience, Commander?" Maddox asked, leading Varath into a VR simulation room. With a nod of false confidence, Varath agreed. As the visor dropped over his eyes, the world around him morphed into an alien landscape filled with vicious creatures, sharp terrain, and endless threats. He could hear Maddox's voice faintly in his ear. "We'll put you through one of our basic cadet programs. Nightmare survival training. Good luck." The simulation erupted in chaos. Alien beasts, similar to the predators of Earth, leapt at him, each one more fearsome than the last. He fended them off, his breathing growing ragged, but with each wave the simulation seemed to adapt, presenting new, unexpected threats that targeted his every weakness. Soon, the creatures were replaced by human soldiers, elite operatives that moved with terrifying precision. Varath swung his weapon desperately, but they circled him, anticipating every move. His heart pounded with a primal fear as they closed in, their faces cold and calculating, their eyes empty of any mercy. As he struggled, Maddox's voice chimed in again. "Humans have a saying, Commander, adapt or perish, and if you're fighting us, you'd best be prepared to perish." The simulation ended, leaving Varath gasping, his pulse racing, mind fraying from the relentless pressure. He removed the visor with shaking hands, every fiber of his being demanding that he leave this place. The final phase of Varath's visit was a private session with the Academy's top cadets. Maddox introduced him to a group of young soldiers, each one brimming with a mixture of discipline and quiet confidence. Varath noted their scars, both physical and emotional, and the ease with which they carried them. One cadet, Private Lion, approached Varath. "Commander, would you care for a sparring match?" With a mixture of reluctance and pride, Varath accepted. Yet, as they squared off, he realized too late that Leon's strikes were faster, more precise than anything he had encountered among his own soldiers. Within moments, Varath found himself disarmed, lying flat on his back. As he looked up, the cadet extended a hand, and Varath hesitated before accepting it. Standing, he felt his respect for these human soldiers deepen, mingled with an undeniable fear. As Varath left Earth, he couldn't shake the lingering fear that had taken root. The humans were more than he had imagined. They were adaptable, relentless, capable of withstanding more than any other species he had known. Returning to his ship, he transmitted a report to his superiors, warning them in no uncertain terms. Humans were not to be underestimated. Not now, not ever.